At which point can you say, this is enough? This performance, grade, income, this support I'm giving someone else, this weight, ab size, it's enough. I can stop trying now. I can relax, knowing that I've done enough, that I am enough. I can take time to recharge my batteries. I can focus on living and enjoying my life. It depends. It depends on your standards. It depends on the rules you've internalized about what makes a person good enough. If the standards you've internalized are harmful or unattainable, that can leave you feeling not enough, and you can burn yourself out trying to become enough, but because your standards are unattainable, never getting there. Let's look at where this comes from, what it does, and how you can change it so you can finally feel good enough. If you often feel not enough, that means you're overly critical with yourself and that you have a loud inner critic. The inner critic is an overpowering judge that sets your standards for you and rules of conduct and makes you believe that these are indisputable shoulds that must be taken into account or else. These are internalized rules about how you should live, behave, what you should look like, who you should be, and how successful you should be, and on and on and on. It all boils down to what makes someone good enough and lovable. We start internalizing these rules from a very young age. Children are like sponges and absorb everything in their environment. When a child is celebrated for something or praised or punished, that sends messages about what is acceptable and what isn't. When a child is excluded for something or teased, that also sends messages about worth, lovability, and standards. From a young age, we are surrounded by messages about role models. Who is good and why? Who should we look up to and strive to be like? And who should we avoid becoming? Who are people that have made bad choices who we shouldn't copy? All of these messages can be conveyed openly and directly, like when a parent says to their child, I don't want you coming home with bad grades. Or these messages can be conveyed in an indirect way, hidden, implicitly, like when a parent comments on the performance, behavior, success, weight, or looks of other people, either real people or characters on TV or in books. Another way children pick up these implicit messages is by observing their parents' behavior. For example, if their parent falls into a loud and aggressive rant about the stupidity of other drivers, that tells the child people who make mistakes will be rejected and they won't be talked to in a respectful way. So the child concludes, well, I hope that never happens to me. I better always get it right and never make mistakes. Sometimes a parent might say one thing, but then their actions convey a completely different message. They might say to their child, I love you no matter what, but then be perfectionistic or excessively busy in a way that tells the child the thing that really counts is perfect performance and excessive hard work to the point of having no time for anything else like relationships, health, or fun. The consequence of these rigid, overpowering, unattainable, and harmful standards and rules you've internalized about what it means to be enough is that you might be chasing these standards, exhausting yourself, harming your mental and physical health, and never experiencing any success. If you measure yourself against an unattainable standard, there is only one possible outcome: failure, perceiving yourself as not enough. If you've got very rigid self-judgment rules, you'll constantly criticize yourself and beat yourself up for not being enough. That then creates corresponding emotions that are uncomfortable, like shame and anxiety, which you'll feel in your body. And you might start feeling depressed, lose motivation. You might start avoiding and procrastinating. Next, I want to help you recognize some of these standards that are coming from your should self, who you should be according to the inner critic. I'll mention common ones, and you can see if and how much they're true for you. While I talk about this, you might also start detecting other shoulds that I don't mention that you've internalized based on your own individual biography. I'll also mention the subconscious supposed benefit of these shoulds and how to let go of them. Number 1, you have to be successful. If you've internalized this belief, your should self will pressure you to excessively strive for success. This can go into 3 directions. You could work really hard in excessive ways to get that success. Number 2, you could also freeze up under all that pressure and procrastinate and avoid. Or number 3, you could also give up, stop trying, and assume that you've failed at being successful. This belief, I have to be successful, will make you over-focus on narrow definitions of success that are connected to wealth, status, and achievements. You'll measure yourself up against numbers and consider yourself a failure as long as you haven't reached these numbers. A subconscious benefit of this standard and should is often thinking that it'll motivate you to high performance. It doesn't, though. It's too much pressure and leads to burnout or so much fear of failure that you can't get started. To let go of this belief, uncouple your worth from success and achievements. You're enough just the way you are. The numbers of what you're striving for don't define your enoughness. You're worthy of self-esteem, love, and appreciation, regardless of your achievements. It's your life. You get to decide what the word success means to you, how you want to define it in the first place. What's a successful life according to you, not according to your should self or unhealthy standards? Stop demanding things of yourself that don't make you happy. Redefine this internalized rule so it sounds good to you. For example, I want to invest effort into my goals. At the same time, if I'm not successful, that doesn't mean I'm not enough. Or success to me means investing into relationships, mental health, personal growth, and pursuing things that bring me joy. Or success isn't only about goals for me, but also about values and expressing them, like the value of compassion, which I also want to direct onto myself. Number 2, you have to have a perfect body. It's easy to develop this unattainable standard. From a young age, we are surrounded by messages about ideal bodies. Then we compare our real-life body to these ideals and notice discrepancies. We may start seeing our body and looks as an object, as something to be evaluated, rather than a vehicle to live our life, express ourselves and our values, and to experience connection, joy, and strength. With this standard, people start obsessing over their looks. They may obsessively diet or work out excessively, trying to create the look that comes close to the unattainable standard of perfect. And the more you've coupled your sense of worth to how you look, the more detrimental it is to your mental health. You'll keep comparing and evaluating, but since perfect is unattainable, you'll always feel like you're falling short of your goal, like you're not good enough. Maybe even like you're ugly, unattractive, and unlovable. And that can really mess with your relationship to your body, exercise, and food. The subconsciously supposed benefit of this should is often becoming more attractive to others, becoming lovable. And of course, that's a harmful connection. A person's worth doesn't have anything to do with what their body looks like. People who really love you will love you for you, no matter what your body looks like. You're good enough without a perfect body. Number 3, you always have to be there for others. This should addresses internalized standards and rules about how much you're responsible for other people and their feelings, and how much you have to dedicate yourself to helping others reach their goals. The implicit belief behind the standard is, I'm only lovable if I'm available to others in a self-sacrificing way. Otherwise, I'm morally a bad person. The consequences of this should and standard is that you'll neglect your own needs, which leads to burnout. Also, whenever you can't be there for someone else, you'll feel ashamed of yourself and not enough. You might also start feeling resentful of other people. And like the best idea is to just avoid people and relationships because you project so much responsibility and work into them. You might also not be able to feel a boundary between yourself and another person's feelings. and feel responsible for their bad moods. Rephrase this standard and uncouple your worth from how useful you are to others. Your needs are just as important as other people's. Be there for yourself just as much as you're there for others. Acknowledge your limits and find out where your boundaries are so you don't continually cross them. You're lovable and good enough, also when you say no. When you reflect on your internalized standards like this, you can step out from under their domination. It frees you up to come in contact with your authentic self, to figure out what are guidelines and values that actually resonate with you, that you actually want to orient your life around. The standards coming from your should self are not the only logically possible way to live life. What these standards will do is they won't make you happy, they will perpetuate your pain and low self-esteem, and they'll stand in the way of your authentic needs getting met. That's all I have to say on that today. Hope it helps you in your reflection and reorientation. Till next time, take care, and remember, you're already enough, worthy, and lovable. And only if you allow that fact to become your reality, you'll be able to feel good about yourself on a fundamental level. Chasing after unattainable standards won't do that for you.